In this sixth part on the CAGED system, we're going to return to chords. I know, we've already covered chords. That's true. However, in this lesson, we're going to cover the C, the A, the G, the E, and the D major chord partials. We're going to create bits of chords to help you understand how you can augment a rhythm part or even reframe a rhythm part using partials instead of standard chords. This creates a whole different approach to how you can do things, okay? But before we get there, remember, hit the red button down there, like and subscribe to this channel, and hit the notification bell to be notified when new content is posted. We're also on Patreon, so go on over there, subscribe to Outsmart Your Guitar, become a patron, and help support our efforts to create high-quality content for you to help you learn, play, and grow to become the guitar player you desire to be. All right? So let's get on with the lesson. All right, you'll notice in the graphic on the very left, the diagram, we have the C form. That's the full C form. Now, from this, we create our partials. The second diagram shows just 3 notes up here. And you'll notice this looks very familiar. It's like a D chord. And these 3 notes overlap between the D form and the C form. So very common, right? Easy to understand. Now, we build back a little bit more of the C form without going all the way back to the full C form by adding the 4th string back in. Now, what we can do is remove the high E string and just play the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. The other thing we have is here at the bottom, because we have a B here, we can use this B. So make a very bottom-heavy partial. Okay? So, for example, let me start with this one. I've got a real simple E, D, A progression, right? So here you can use it in an atmospheric way. Go up an octave. Just use 2 notes. Okay, pretty straightforward stuff. Now, if we go to this one, you can do pretty much the same idea. So what I'm going to do is go to the 4th one and use this one alone. Get rid of that and play a little arpeggiation. 3, 4. Right? Something like that. Now you could go up here. But this gets a little difficult to finger up here, so that's why I'm not doing that. I'm playing stuff that's pretty straightforward. Okay? Now, what about the bottom? Again, here you can do the atmospheric thing. Let's see. Arpeggiate. Right? And this gives you options. You can also just, as with the other guitar, or you can accent like that. Okay? Lots of options. So, pause the video. If you have a looper, create a little E, D, A progression, or whatever progression you want that allows you to use this form up and down the fretboard. Okay? and play around with this. Have some fun with it. Get these shapes comfortable under your fingers so that you understand what's going on. And take note of where the root sits all the way. This way you'll always know exactly where the root is and where you need to place it to play a given version, chord in the right place. Okay? Then, when you're ready to continue, press play and we will move forward. All right, as you can see, I'm playing the A form of a D chord. The full version is playing with all 4 fingers to get that high E note. Okay, now, if we drop the bottom root and rely on that root, we play your second form. There's a second diagram. Remove the second finger. And you can also play it with your first, second, and third fingers. And then the fourth diagram, we have these weird little partials. I learned this in jazz lessons a long time ago. And you can lay your little finger down, pick up another 3. So you can have these interesting little voicings. And then you have this one. Now, these are voicings that guys like Eric Johnson use all the time, these really spread out voicings, kind of like piano voicings. Okay, so now we were playing the E, D, and A progression. I've still got that queued up on my looper. So now what we can do is we can play E, D, A, right? And we'll use the middle 3 strings, which I didn't include, so you can leave that off too, right? Now, instead of jumping all over the place, let's bring in a little bit of the C form we were working on. So we can go here, here, and bring in the C form of the A. So like this. Right? Okay. Now we could go to even smaller voicings like that. How do you want to do it? We can do this. And even, instead of playing all 3 notes, just play 2 notes of the C form of the A. So you get something like this. Now I'm going to change my fingering because we're just playing that. Now I can go up to the A here. To the E down here. You can mix it up, have a lot of fun with it, okay? So here's what I want you to do. Now, pause the video, play around with these. Don't forget this E form, C chord, C form of the E here. You can do that, right? You can do a lot of cool stuff here. So start mixing and matching between the C form and the A form. Create these cool little ideas, right? And you'll see that we have a lot of possibilities open to us. Then, when you're done playing around with it, restart the video and we'll move forward. All right, so what we've got now is the G form. Now I'm just playing it in C because. Now the first partial is the bottom 4 strings. The second partial, we get rid of the fourth finger, add the second string in. Now we remove the third finger and just play the second, third, and fourth strings. Now we add the little finger on the first string. And those are the general partials that you can do. Now we can also do an interesting spread if you can do it. You can do these interesting things. You can do that, just make sure you don't play that, and you're creating these more spread out harmonic ideas, right? You could even do like that, right? Or add the 5 in there. These are other ways you can play partials. I didn't include these, but it's right there, okay? And that's pretty cool. Now, let's, we got the A, the G, the D, and the E. Now what I'm gonna do is a little bit differently. I'm going to play the C form of the A, and I'm gonna play the C form of the G, and then we're gonna play the G form of the D, and then we're gonna play the C form of the E. All right? So. So the idea here is keeping it from being too complex. So we're just using 2 forms. Now we can change this a little bit. C form, C form, A form, C form. Or C form, C form, A form, G form. Now another cool thing you can do is you can combine 2 different approaches into a singular thing. And what I mean is the first time through the progression, for example, play the A form of the A and the G, then play the G form of the D, the G form of the E, then you're going to play the C form of the A, the C form of the G, the G form of the D, and then the C form of the E. I know that's a big mouthful. So one time through the progression, you're going to go A, G in the A form. Then you're going to play the G form of the D and the E. The second time through the progression, you're going to play the C form of the A and G. And you're going to play the A form of the D and the C form of the E. So it'll sound something like this. All right? This way, you create another level of complexity without actually being more complex. You're just making the progression more involved by the first time doing one set of chords, the second progression doing a second set of chords, and then you repeat that throughout. So 2 times through the progression for you is 1 pass, using one pattern and then the other pattern. It's a pretty cool approach. So what I want you to do, pause the video and play around with stuff. You've got the C form, the A form, and the G form to play with now. So mix and match, see what you can come up with. Create your own progression, have fun with it. Again, keep it simple, don't try to be too clever, and work through this so that you fully understand it. Then you can get more complicated as you go, all right? So then when you're ready to continue, press play and we'll keep going. Fourth form is the E form. Here I'm playing an A major, full bar chord. All right, you got a partial here, just right there. And then you got this one. Then you can split things a little bit by doing that. And then you have the little cluster here, right? You can have a little fun with these, right? And then you can actually add that in if you want. And then you have this one, combining that one and that one, right? So those are the partials. A couple of them I don't have here listed, but they kind of suggest themselves just by virtue of being what they are, right? Okay, so now I got an E, C, A, and B progression here. So we're going to play an A form of the E, an E form of the C, a C form of the A, then an E form of the B. Okay, so let's see what we got there. Okay, pretty straightforward stuff there. So now what we can do to augment that is we can play a G form of the E, a little bit of the C using this one, go to the A, staying there, and stay there. So we just stay with the E form for the last three chords, right? So it would sound something like this. So we can actually then really mix things up. We can go way up here with E, and then stay here and play the C, and then we have the A here and the B here. So we're actually using the C form a couple of times, right? All right, here we go. Now, this is a very vocal quality, meaning when you're dealing with a chorus, right? Very tight voicings. And that's the whole idea sometimes, that you want to keep it very close at hand. All right? So those are just two ideas. So now what you can do is, as we did in the last segment, put two together so you're playing a singular whole over two passes of the progression, and really create a little bit more involved part for yourself as you're playing these color tones. And that's what you're doing here, is you're adding the color to the progression, where the other guitar player is just banging out chords. You're actually adding more atmosphere and other elements to the progression to flesh it out a little more. All right, again, pause the video. Have some fun here. Now you've got four forms, C, A, G, and E, to play with and really create your own ideas. All right? That's really what this is all about. And take your time, have fun with the process, get lost in it. If you got a looper, create a progression, and then play over it and explore it. I didn't go all the way down here to this E here, or this A here, this B here, or any of that, right? So you've got all of these places all over the fretboard that you can play, and that's the whole idea. That's what I want you to do. Explore not just in one place, but all over. Where does all this stuff exist and live, right? Then, when you've done that for a bit, restart the video and we'll keep going. Here is the D form. We're going to play a little A here. Now we have the first partial, something really basic and simple. We have the one you're already familiar with from the C form, and then we have a little little spread out one here. Now we have a D, an A, a G, and a B flat and C progression here. This is a little weird progression, but what the heck, right? So we'll go with a G form of the D, an E form of the A. We'll go to the D form of the G, and then we'll do the E form of the B flat and the C. All right, here we go. Pretty straightforward stuff. I know I keep saying that, but it really is. You're just using the forms and playing around with them, right? And that's what it's all about. So now if I went to here, you're playing the G form without that of the D, went to this funky little A here, and then continued it for the G, and then played the G forms for the B flat and the C. Now you'll notice I'm doing that routine. You can handle this any way you want. All right, so let's see how that works. Right, so we really mix it up and make things sound a little more interesting. Now, these are all examples. They're not necessarily the best examples out there. And that's where you come in to explore the possibilities. And I'm mixing and matching stuff, right? Playing G here, this interesting D form here, then a G there, or I can start with the A form of the D, right? It doesn't matter how you go about it. I could do this, right? Staying with the E form for the climb up. That's really cool. I can even do that, right? So it just really creates some interesting ideas that you can use and apply in songs that you're playing or that you're writing. And when you have two guitars, the possibilities really are quite amazing. So pause the video, dig into this stuff. Remember, you've got the whole neck here to play with, so don't just stay in one little section. I'm just doing these as examples, but mix and match, combine everything. You saw me play this here, right? And then here, right? And then, so I worked the whole fretboard for that little bit right there, and that's the whole idea. If it sounds good, and that's the other key element there. It has to sound good to you, all right? And if it sounds good to you, it's probably going to sound good to other people as well. So that's something else to bear in mind. Take your time. When you're ready to continue, press play and we'll wrap it up. Through this lesson, what I've been striving to do is expose you to a new and different approach in how you view things and how you play things through the application and use of partials. When you use these and include them, especially as a two-guitar band, you're going to expand the sonic landscape. It's not going to be narrow, it's going to be very wide, and that's the whole idea here, to get you to expand that landscape so that you're exploring things and introducing things to make the music more interesting, even a little more complex, even if it's not necessarily more complex literally, just a little more involved because you're adding these partials in over the top of another guitar that's chugging away on the main rhythm part, right? And when you do this, it really does add a perceived complexity to the music. Only you will know that it's not hard, right? Now, if you listen to bands like the Allman Brothers, particularly their live set in live at the Fillmore East, and Wishbone Ash on their live double dates, the original back from the early 70s, these are live performances, and this is why I reference them over studio. You hear the bands, and you hear all these different parts being played. And so the sum is greater than the parts because the parts create the sum. Individually, the parts aren't that big a deal, but when they're put together, then what they create together is bigger and better than what they would be alone. And that's what the sum is greater than the parts means. When you put these elements together, it creates something bigger and hopefully better, right? So you listen to the Allman Brothers, you listen to Wishbone Ash. Dickie Betts and Duane Allman are not playing the same thing. Andy Powell and Ted Turner are not playing the same thing, right? At least not all the time. Much of the time, they're playing different parts. They have an assigned part. And those parts put together create a bigger part, a better sounding song. And that's the idea. So I want you to really explore this idea of partials. Again, if you have a looper, record simple, no-nonsense progressions and start playing around with the different forms, the 5 different forms that you have available and the partials that each of these forms offers up. And start playing around with them and having a good time, right? This is going to help you to become a better guitar player. All right? And that's really the goal here, isn't it? To become a better guitar player, to really dig into creating some great music. And when you go to a jam session, once you know the progression, you can start adding these things in, and people are just going to be like, wow, what are you doing? And they're going to want to learn what you just did if they don't know how to do that. And that's the other cool thing. You can share this with other people, okay? And that's when we really grow, is when we take what we know and share it with other people and have that selfless, oh, sure, I've got no secrets. Here's what I'm doing. And you sit down with them and show them. I've had people come up to me in music stores and ask me what I'm playing when I'm testing gear out. And I take 5 minutes and go, oh, it's just this. Here, check it out. Get a guitar. And I teach them in 5 minutes. Here, you can do it too. And they walk away going, wow, this is so cool. I came to the music store and I had no idea I was going to walk out having something new to deal with, to play with, right? Anyway, the point being, keep growing. Apply these ideas. Start using them, and that way you won't lose them, right? So, again, take your time. Don't be in a hurry to get to the next lesson. Learn this stuff because you want to know this stuff. Because when you play with other guitar players, this is when it's going to come in and be a really valuable addition to what you guys are doing. All right? And when you're ready for the next lesson, I'll be there, as will the material, right? All right. Till then, take care. See you soon.